Magandang tanghali Pilipinas, 18 tulog na lang at Pasko na. Ngunit ang mga kritiko at detractors sa administrasyon ay patuloy sa pagkakalat ng peking balita para sirain ang Pasko ng mga Pilipino. Isang fake news ang kanilang pinakalat nitong weekend kung saan sinabi na magkakaroon daw ng nationwide lockdown ngayong Kapaskuhan. Malayo ito po sa katotohanan. Una, naglabas na po ng community quarantine classification ang pamahalaan para sa buong buwan ng Disyembre at mismong si Presidente ang nag-anunsyo nito noong Lunes sa kanyang Talk to the People address. Ang susunod na quarantine classification ay ilalabas pa po sa susunod na buwan ng Enero. Naintindihan natin ang agam-agam ng iba sa atin. No? Nakita natin ang pagdagsa ng mga tao sa mga tiyangge at ibang pamilihan at kung hindi ito magbabago, asahan ang pagdabi ng bagong kaso ng COVID-19. Alam naman natin na unti-unting binubuksan ng ating ekonomiya at sa pagbubukas na ito, kinakailangan balansehin ang kaligtasan ng mamamayan at economic health ng bansa. Kung may pagtaas man o ng mga bagong kaso, ipatutupad ang isang granular or localized lockdown. Yan na po talaga ang pulisiya ng IATF. Ang magpapatupad dito ay ang local government units. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng granular or localized lockdown? Ire-restrict ang isang specific area tulad ng isang household, isang compound o isang kalye kung saan ang mga residente ay na-expose o maaring na-expose sa coronavirus. Tulad ng madalas kong sabihin dito sa ating press briefing, kinakailangang matuto tayong mabuhay na narariyan pa ang virus sa pamamagitan ng pag-iingat buhay para sa hanap buhay. At paano natin to iingatan? Mask, hugas, iwas. At para hindi tayo ma-fake news, kinakailangan suriin natin ang ating nakukuhang impormasyon, lalo na kung ito ay magdudulot ng alarma, pangamba, takot at stress. Ulitin ko po, fake news yung kumakalat na lockdown daw sa panahon ng Pasko. Ngayong malapit na po ang bakuna, tulad ng sinabi ng ating vaccine czar, uunahin nating bibigyan ng COVID-19 vaccine ang mga lugar na maraming kaso na COVID-19 tulad ng Metro Manila, Metro Cebu at Davao. Ito po yung geographical priorities. Pero sa huling pagpupulong po, lininaw po natin at binigyan ng definition kung ano naman yung tinatawag na sectoral priorities. Sino-sino ang nasa prioridad na mabibigyan ng bakuna laban sa coronavirus. Ang una sa listahan po ay ang ating mga frontline health workers. Obviously po, kinakailangan bigyan na sila ng bakuna nang magawa nila yung kanilang katungkulan na walang atubili. Sila ang nangunguna sa ating laban sa COVID-19, natural lamang na sila ang mabigyan natin ng proteksyon laban sa virus. Kasama sa frontline health workers ang mga nasa public and private health facilities, public health workers at LGU contact tracers, barangay health workers at iba pa. Susundan ito ng indigent senior citizen. Pangatlo, ang natitirang senior citizen. So lahat ng senior citizens po kasama sa prioridad. Alam naman natin na ang ating mga lolo at lola ay kasama sa vulnerable group. Sila ang madaling kapitan ng virus dahil sila ay mayroong mga comorbidities. At kapag kinapitan, alam din natin na sangayon sa datos, marami talagang namamatay sa ating mga seniors. Pang-apat, ang iba pang indigent population na pinangako ng ating presidente. At ang pang-lima, lahat po ng uniform personnel. Ang suma total po ng mga ang suma total ng numero na bibigyan ng prioridad ay 24,668,126. No? Ang ating orderon po ay mga 30 million good for 30 million individuals or 60 million dosage. Inaprubahan po ng inyong IATF noong Webes, December 3, ang rekomendasyon na ipagpapatupad ang Safety Seal Certification Program in addition to StaySafe.ph. Bakit ba mahalaga ang StaySafe.ph at Safety Seal Certification Program? Ito ay para ma-reassure ang mga consumers na ligtas na lumabas at ma-highlight ito yung merong certification. Ibig sabihin, pag may certification, meron pong garantiya na sumusunod sa minimum health guidelines yung mga establishmento. So yung mga mamimili, feeling safe kumbaga kung pupunta doon sa merong certification. Mahalaga ang papel ng local government unit dito. No? Sila magre-require sa mga establishments na mag-apply ng safety seal certification. Sila rin ang mag-iengganyo sa publiko na i-check ang safety seal certification bago pumasok sa isang establishmento. Tignan natin ang infographic na nagpapaliwanag ng mahalagang papel ng LGU. Hindi ko po mabasa at masyadong maliit, pero ang LGU po ang... Well, anyway, nandyan po sa screen ninyo. at mahirap po mabasa. Inabot po ang laptop. Okay, ang LG po, ang mandate niya ay siya po ang magmamandate ng establishments and the employees to use the Safety Safe app, requires Stay Safe QR codes for safety seal certification, encourage consumers to look for safety seal certification. Pagkatapos po, yung business establishments, no, sila yung mag-i-issue ng safety seal certification to establishments that comply with safety protocols and produce a Stay Safe business QR code. Tapos yung app database, yung updates staysafe.ph database, each time an establishment receives a safety seal to build a directory of certified safe places, at yung regular audit po, no, perform regular audit on establishments to maintain safety seal certification, update database when establishment loses safety seal certification. Okay, safe dito ang ating magiging mensahe. Hintayin lang po natin ang paglalabas ng Joint Memorandum Circular ng Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Labor and Employment, Department of Interior, Local Government, Department of Tourism at Department of Transportation para sa iba pang mga detalye. Lumabas naman po ang November inflation rate. No? Nasa 3.3% ang ating inflation noong nakaraang buwan kumpara sa 2.5% noong Oktubre, medyo tumaas po. Pasok pa rin po ito sa 2 to 4% full year target ng Bangko Sentral. Ang pagtaas ng inflation na dahil sa mga nasira na sektor ng agrikultura na dulot ng mga nagdaang mga bagyo na nagpataas sa presyo ng ating mga pagkain. Tumaas din ang inflation dahil sa transport restrictions kung saan reduce ang passenger capacities na nagpataas ng transport services. Ito ang dahilan na pabor kami sa pagbubukas ng mas marami pang mode of public transport habang ipinatutupad ang 7 utos sa ligtas na pampublikong transportasyon. Ano itong 7 utos nito? Magsuot ng face mask at face shield, bawal ang pagsasalita, pakikipag-usap o pagsagot ng telepono, bawal kumain, kailangan may sapat na ventilation, kailangan may frequent disinfection, bawal magsakay ng symptomatic passenger at kinakailangan sumunod sa appropriate physical distancing. Naku, nakakaturete na po kami pero paulit-ulit po kami, no? Para sa inyong interes po ito dahil kapag hindi sumunod, baka magkasakit habang nakasakay po sa public transportation. Punta po tayo sa COVID-19 updates natin. Ayon po sa global updates ng Johns Hopkins, higit 67 million or 4,553 ang tinamaan ng COVID-19 sa buong mundo. Nasa 1,535,038 katao naman po ang binuwian ng buhay dahil sa coronavirus. Nangunguna pa rin po ang Estados Unidos na mayroong 14.7 milyon na mga kaso at 282,231 deaths. Pangalawang India, pangatlo po ang Brazil, 4 ang Russia at pang-5 po ang France. Sa Pilipinas, meron po tayong 22,646 na active cases as of December 6 ayon sa DOH. Sa mga aktibong kasong ito, 90.4% naman po ay mild at asymptomatic, 6.1% ay critical at 3.1% ay severe. Ito naman po ang mga bilang ng mga gumaling, no? Meron na po tayong recoveries na 408,634 or 92.9% po ang mga gumaling. Ang ating mga namatay po ay 8,554 or 1.94%. Nakikiramay po kami. Kamusta naman po ang ating mga hospital? Well, mabuti naman po, no? Meron pa po tayong available na 59% para sa ating ICU beds, 62% ang available po sa isolation beds, 72% ang available sa ward beds at 81% ang available na ventilators. Ulitin ko po, hindi naman ibig sabihin na palibasa marami pa tayong mga kama para sa magkakasakit ng COVID ay tayo po ay magpapabaya na. Kinakailangan, mask, hugas, iwas. On other matters, mayroon naman pong mahigit na 802 million pesos na cash subsidies ang naipamahagi sa mahigit 59,000 public utility vehicle operator sa ilalim ng Direct Cash Subsidy Program ng DOTR at LTFRB. Bawat operator ay nakatanggap na po ng cash subsidy na 6,500 sa bawat PUV unit na nasa kanilang prangkisa. Kasama sa mga nakatanggap ang mga operator ng Public Utility Bus or PUB, Point-to-Point Bus or P2P, Public Utility Jeepney or PUJ, Minibus, UV Express at PhilCab. Okay. Um, Dito na po tayo nagtatapos. Kasama po natin ngayon dahil 18 na tulog na lang ay Pasko na, ay walang iba kung hindi isa po doon sa mga naging Santa Claus ng Pilipinas, Mr. Lance Gokongwei. Sir Lance, magandang umaga po. Kabahagi po kayo doon sa programa ng pribadong sektor kung saan kayo po ang bumili o bibili ng bakuna sa AstraZeneca. Ang tanong po namin bakit po sumapi ang inyong negosyo dito sa programang ito? Bakit niyo po ginamit ang pera ninyo para bumili ng bakuna?
Magandang umaga, Sec Harry, at salamat sa inyong pag-imbita sa amin dito. As part of the private sector po, we recognize na we are all part of an interlinked society, no? Na in the way the private sector approaches this, dapat walang turuan, walang iwanan, walang kanyang-kanya, na we can only recover as a nation if we all work together and under the leadership of Sec Charlie Galvez and Sec Joey Concepcion, I think they organized the private sector together with AstraZeneca and the British government and other government sectors using their credibility so that they could, we all work together we work together and raise funds po to secure the doses of vaccine which hinahabol ng iba-ibang countries na, so we have to step up para makuha ng Pilipinas yung kanyang share.
Magkano po yung suma total na gagastusin ng pribadong sektor at magkano po yung ibibigay natin para sa ating mga mahihirap doon sa aangkatin nating bakuna?
I think as of this date, lampas 3 million doses na, which is over 500, mga $16 million na po, no? That's about 800 million pesos ang contribution ng buong private sector. Yun, at least kalahati nito mapupunta sa DOH at ang DOH ang magdedesisyon sa anong sektor ang pinaka may kailangan ng bakuna, no? And at this point we follow the guidelines of the government and that we should prioritize yung mga frontliners natin, especially mga medical frontliners natin.
Sir, huling katanungan ko po, no? Meron kasi isang bakuna na hindi natin maangkat dahil mahal, $78 per dose daw, pero ito po yung kasabayan ng Sinovac galing po sa China na Sinopharm. May posibilidad ba ho na dahil hindi mabibili ng gobyerno ito dahil mahal ay ang private sector ay po pwedeng mag-ipon-ipon din ng salapi para mabili po natin ito ng magamit po ng ating mga kababayan?
I think part ng contribution namin is to help the government, no, in whatever way we can. I think part of this is to pursue a multi-platform approach sa bakuna. Lahat po ng bakuna, I mean from all countries, China, Russia, Europe, tsaka America, kailangan natin pag-aralan, and then working with the DOH and the FDA, I think we'll come out with the most suitable program, no? And I think the priority again has to support PRD's concern for vulnerable parts of society. So we'll go from there, no? At the private sector naman, aside from supporting the government in its growth, we also want to prioritize our own employees to assure that our employees and their families na their health is our concern. So I'm sure we will also examine all these new vaccines coming up, no?
Oo. Now, dahil meron pong pagpupulong or meeting na previously scheduled si Mr. Gokongwei, iimbitahan ko na po yung ating mga kasama sa Malacanang Press Corps na itanong na yung mga tanong nila para kay Mr. Lance Gokongwei. Una po si Mr. Melo Acuña.
Yes, good afternoon, Secretary Harry, for Mr. Gokongwei. Good afternoon and nice to see you. Can you please update us on the status of Cebu Pacific and your projections when Cebu Pacific would fly again and help tourism recover its lost grounds?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think this whole crisis, Cebu Pacific and the entire aviation and tourism sector has of course been very severely affected. But this whole time we never forgot our responsibility as a public utility. Even during the worst part of the crisis, maski walang pasahero, nag-ooperate po kami ng mga cargo flights at mga flights na nagbabalik ng mga OFWs, no? Today, the economy is slowly opening up. We now have a requirement na flying is now allowed to many LGUs, although we have to respect each LGU's own guidelines, no? So we are now looking to work with each of the LGUs so that we'll in the future, our hope is that with each LGU, we assure them na lahat ng pupunta sa kanilang LGU are safe, secure, tested. Particularly with we now have a pilot with Gensan government where we provide free antibody testing for all passengers going into Gensan, and we're working on such programs with different LGUs. So slowly, I think we're beginning to see an opening up of domestic traveling in the Philippines, as it has already been opened up in our other neighbors such as Vietnam, Thailand, etc. So I think slowly babalik yan, as we do recognize that tourism is a vital part of the economy, and a lot of our countrymen depend on tourism. But we just have to assure the different LGUs, different governments, that this tourism is safe, secure, and does not promote COVID. No?
Has COVID-19 affected your operational costs because you're introducing free testing for your passengers going into areas like Gensan? How will it factor your viability?
I mean, the airline sector is really under severe stress. No, this year we will lose almost 25 billion pesos. No, so it's really. But I think that's part of the part of doing business. The main priority really is to operate the airline in a very safe and secure manner, so for both our passengers, our employees. And then we're a volume business. No, people have to gain confidence back in flying, and that's the only way our business will recover. Yeah. So we have to work with the government and the LGUs in that respect.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gokongwei. Wish you the best.
Thank you, Melo. Punta tayo kay Pia Ranada who's a question for Mr. Gokongwei.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Gokongwei. Sir, there's been talk, since we're having a vaccine being developed very soon and released to the general public soon, there's been talk in the airline industry of requiring a COVID passport. And I'm wondering, has Cebu Pacific also been involved in these talks? And what are your thoughts on it? Like an app that will basically require passengers of your airlines to show that they've been vaccinated for against COVID-19 and tested negative. What do you think of those proposals?
I think we do think that's essential, no? Especially as we open up international travel. Na daming different vaccines, and I think we have to work on a global COVID passport, no? So that each country respects the passport and recognizes that if you do have this COVID passport, that you have already been vaccinated by a credible vaccination source. No? So I think this has to be led at the G2G basis, but definitely I think it's essential for if the tourism and travel industries to recover. This is an absolute necessity. No?
Sir, do you think it will put a damper on international travel because people might not have access right away to vaccines, especially the very expensive ones? Do you think this will might even damage further the international travel industry?
Unless we resolve the confidence issue and the safety issue, which can only happen with herd immunity and vaccines, then there's nothing to be spoken about. So that has to be the number one priority, is to get vaccines in the hands of as much of the population, the global population, as possible, and then connecting this to a COVID passport so that everybody, each country, trusts that when we say a passenger has had the vaccine, that he indeed has already achieved the levels of antibodies, no? So that he will not be infectious to anybody else. So I think that's job number one.
All right, thank you, sir.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Lance Gokongwei. On behalf of the President and on behalf of a grateful nation, we would like to thank Mr. Lance Gokongwei, JG Summit, and the rest of the private sector for their beautiful Christmas gift to the Philippines, free vaccines from AstraZeneca. Now, ang bakuna ay, maraming salamat po, Mr. Gokongwei. Ang bakuna ay naririyan na po, kaya sasalubungin natin ang Kapaskuhan ng may bagong pag-asa, no? At may question muna po tayo kay Yusek Roque.
Good afternoon, Secretary Roque. From Laila Salaverry of Inquirer, there had been a suggestion saying top officials such as DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III and Vaccine Czar Galvez should be the first to get the COVID-19 vaccine to allay the public's fear and to encourage them to get themselves inoculated DOH Secretary Duque has agreed. What will the administration's policy on this, if any? Will the government require officials to get the vaccine first to serve as an example, or will this have to be their personal decision?
Alam niyo po, personal decision yan ng ating mga namumuno. No? Pero kapag nangyari po yan, babatuhin na naman ng gobyerno na inuna ng bakuna ang mga VIPs, gaya nung nangyari doon sa PCR test. No? So either way, talagang meron pong mga kritiko na mambabato. No? Pero ang importante po is to develop what Dr. Lulu Bravo said last week. No? Yung confidence na dumaan po sa tamang proseso itong mga bakuna at ito po ay napag-aralan na unang-una ligtas, at pangalawa po, epektibo laban sa COVID-19. So kung meron pong ilang mga matataas na opisyales na nais na magpaturok para magsilbing halimbawa na wala naman pong masamang epekto sa kanilang bakuna, we welcome that. Pero gaya ng aking sinabi po, tandaan ninyo, pag nangyari yan, yung oposisyon sasabihin na naman merong VIP treatment. Next question,
Ang second question
please.
po niya, what will be the policy for the President?
Well, ang presidente po, nako, ang presidente hindi na makaantay. Gusto niyang talagang turukan na siya nang mapakita nga po sa buong bayan na ligtas at epektibo. Ito po'y dumaan sa expert panel group ng pinakadalubhasang Pilipino at yan po ay comes with their highest endorsement na ligtas at epektibo.
Thank you, Secretary.
Back to Melo Acuña, may isa ka pang question, Melo?
Actually, dalawa po ito, Secretary.
Sige na nga, Christmas
how do you
naman
look at holiday economics? Because businessmen, small and medium businessmen, look towards Christmas or holidays as a saving grace for their businesses. Do you see an upsurge in spending? Because when you go to the malls, halos wala pa rin tao. Is it because of confidence or is it because walang pera ang tao? Ano ang priorities kaya?
Alam mo, on the contrary, no, yung mga balita sa Divisoria, sa mga Tianggian, sobra-sobra yung mga tao. Yung sa Baguio po, no, isang araw nga lang yung night market, dinagsapo talaga ng tao. So I think Christmas economics will happen. Ang ginagawa nga po ng gobyerno ay nagpapaalala na bagamat talagang isang beses lang to isang taon, patuloy pa rin natin pangalagaan ang ating kalusugan para tayo ay makapaghanap buhay.
Yeah. Can you please update us on the cold chain storage facilities?
Everything is in place po, no? Dito sa ating press briefing, dalawa nang na-feature natin, yung ORCA at saka yung Asosasyon ng Cold Storage Facilities. I understand nakapagpirmahan na po sa ilang mga kumpanya ang DOH para magbigay ng cold storage capacity kasi nga po yung mga gamot na galing sa Western countries will require -70. So, everything is in place, napaghandaan naman po yan, we will not be taken by surprise at ginagamit nga din po natin itong press briefing ito para masiguro ng DOH, ang IATF ay magiging handa pag nandyan na po ang bakuna.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you po. Thank you, Melo. Back to you, Sec. Roque, please.
Secretary, question from Jan Punsalan ng ABS-CBN Online. Sinabi daw po ni Vice President Leni Robredo parang na-normalize na ang patayan. This is after another mayor in the President's narco list was killed. What is your reaction to this and how will the government prevent rampant killings?
Unang-una po, ang obligasyon ng Estado ng Pilipinas ay para imbestigahan, litisin ang mga pumapatay at bigyan ng remedyo sang-ayon sa ating batas ang mga nagiging biktima ng paglabag ng karapatang mabuhay. Yan po ay ginagawa ngayon ng ating bayan dahil pinag-utos na po ni Secretary Anyo ang pag-iimbestiga dito sa pagpatay kay Los Baños sa mayor. No? So ang ating mensahe po kay Vice President Leni Robredo, antayin naman po natin ang investigasyon dahil hindi naman po instant yan. No? Meron po talagang mga hakbang na ginagawa ang kapulisan para ma-identify kung sino ang pumatay bago tayo magkaroon ng conclusion. At dahil pare-pareho naman po kaming abogado, kung may ebidensya siya na talagang gobyerno ang pumatay, isang pa po ang kaso.
Ang second question po ni Jan Punsalan, the Joint Task Force Against COVID-19 last week said law enforcers in Metro Manila would carry yantok to measure social distancing and hit violators. DFA Secretary Locsin has opposed this. How will the government ensure that this will not be abused and lead to unnecessary use of force?
Tingin ko po tama si Secretary Locsin dito. Hindi po pwede gamitin niya na pang-hit o pampalo dahil hindi naman po yan na pinapayagan sa ating batas at ang regulasyon ng PNP. No? Pwede po siguro po to measure social distancing, to make sure 1 meter, pero hindi po yan para pang, ano tawag doon, pangpalo, no, ng mga taong bayan.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Yusek. Tricia Terada, please.
Good afternoon, Secretary. Sir, doon po, follow-up lang po dun sa pagkamatay po ni Los Baños, Mayor Cesar Perez. Yun nga po nalilink siya doon sa drugs list. But sir, my question is, ano po ba yung pagkakaalam ng palasyo o ng government sa involvement niya sa illegal drugs? And yung pagkaka-include niya po dun sa drugs watch list, vetted information po ba yun?
Well, alam nyo, noong kongresista pa ako, talagang tinatanong ko yan sa nanggaling yung drug list. No? At ang pagkakaintindi ko naman po, meron talagang mga impormasyon dyan. Bagamat, hindi pa po siguro sapat para tumayo sa kaso, no? Na kaso sa ating mga hukuman. So hindi naman po yan out of thin air, meron naman pong basihan yan. Pero at the same time, ang pagkakaalam ko po ay hindi pa po nakasahuhan dahil nagki-case build up pa po.
Mm-hmm. Sir, ito pong nangyari kay Mayor Cesar Perez, at least yung circumstances of how it happened, nangyari siya sa gabi and within, I think, the grounds of the municipal hall. As the following day, sir, meron ding parang NBI tipster na inattack during daylight. Yung mga ganitong incidents, sir, is this already a cause of peace and security for the palace? May cause of, kumbaga alarming ba itong mga nangyayari, sir, na parang walang takot ngayon yung mga gumagawa nito?
Well, hindi naman po siguro dahil ginagampanan naman po ng Estado ang kanyang obligasyon, iniimbestigahan at bibigyan po natin ng remedyo sang ayon sa lokal na batas natin ang mga mahal sa buhay ni Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Sir, si President Duterte, kagaya po ng tanong kanina, expressed his willingness to get vaccinated with a vaccine from China or Russia. Sir, given the developments po ngayon, is the President keen on participating in any upcoming clinical trials? And will he be getting the vaccine soon to help yung rebuild, sir, ng confidence ng Filipinos? Kasi po, di ba, sinasabi ng IATF, naging effective yung si Pangulo as a tool to encourage itong mask tugas iwas. Do you think it will be an effective tool also na gamitin siya sa communication to rebuild vaccine confidence and trust?
Definitely, as spokesperson, I think the President is the best communication tool. So kung papayagan na po ng FDA, I think po mangunguna ang Presidente at nag-volunteer naman po siya. In fact, gustong-gusto na niya.
Mm-hmm. Sir, after during clinical trials or after the clinical trials?
Alam niyo po, may distinction yan eh. Kasi you can use it under the emergency use authorization miski wala pang clinical trials sa Philippines. Kasi ang ibig sabihin yon, natapos na ang clinical trials abroad. So let's always make that distinction. Hindi ibig sabihin na hindi pa tapos ang third clinical trial sa Pilipinas ay hindi dumaan sa third clinical trial abroad. Wala pong naaaprubahan under the emergency use authorization kung hindi pa po yan dumadaan sa third clinical trial in some foreign jurisdiction.
So sir, if ever po na magkaroon na ng bakuna na maaprubahan po dito via EUA, even if hindi siya matapos pa sa third clinical trials in the Philippines or fourth phase na po yun, no? Pwede na pong magkuha ng bakuna ang Pangulo just to rebuild confidence.
Yes, that is the impact of the executive order on EUA. Pero I think this week, meron pong kauna-unahang bakuna that will be given general approval.
Sir, last, may IETF meeting po ba and address later? Si
Yes,
Pangulo?
there will be.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Trish. Yusek Roque, please.
Yes, question, Secretary, from NJ Blanca Flor of Daily Tribune. Aldous Perez, the youngest son of the late Mayor Perez, has pleaded with President Duterte to help his family attain justice for his father's murder last week. Nakarating na po ba sa Pangulo at ano daw po ang response niya regarding this?
Gaya na aking sinabi, responsibilidad po yan ng Estado at gagawin po yan, sisiguraduhin po yan ng Presidente dahil ang Presidente ang pangunahing executioner ng batas, tagapagpatupad po ng batas.
Ang second question po niya, Aldous believes that his father's murder may have something to do with the so-called narco list of the President. How will the palace respond to this?
It's a live criminal investigation. Hayaan muna po nating matapos ang criminal investigation.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Yusek. Joseph Morong, please.
Hi, sir.
Yes.
Hello?
Go
Hi,
ahead.
sir. Ying, so CPRD willing to get vaccinated even under EUA, no?
Yes.
Is he willing to do this live?
Ewan ko naman, ikaw naman. Ginawa mo namang spectacle yung presidente. Huwag naman siguro. Hindi na
Well,
kailangan
no,
maging
because-
live yan.
Hmm?
Hindi naman
But he will,
kinakailangan
and he will
live.
show us.
But, it all depends on the president. Pero the point is, hindi naman kinakailangan na ipakitang live yan. No? But in any case, it's the president's decision. I would not second guess the president.
Sir, yun pong yung cases natin ng COVID, I'll say on the topic of COVID muna. Paunti ng paunti yung nagpa-positive. How do you explain this? Is this because there are less people getting tested for COVID, that's why we're seeing less results? Or we have the same number of testing numbers and talagang bumababa yung positivity rate? What do you know about it?
I think bumababa po talaga ang positivity rate kasi ang tao alam na kung paano iwasan. Siguro naman after March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, after 9 months, alam na natin ang gagawin para maiwasan ang COVID. Mask, hugas, iwas.
Okay, sir. And okay, dun muna ako sa BTA. I was talking to somebody from
Ano yung
sectors that are
BPA?
involved. Bangsamoro Transition Authority.
Okay, go.
Okay, so I was talking to some people who are involved in that issue, no? And I understand that I don't know if you can confirm that, but the president is agreeable to an extension of the term of the BTA, but it does require an amendment of the BOL, no, Bangsamoro Organic Law. Now the question is, will the president encourage, if not push, for a filing of a bill that will amend the BOL to allow the extension of the BOL?
Well, nasabi ko na po yan. No? The president is supportive, sympathetic, but it is beyond his jurisdiction kasi Kongreso po ang magdedesisyon kung aamendahan yung batas. Kung susuportahan ni Presidente pag-amenda, syempre po, no? Dahil kagustuhan niya yan, gusto niyang matulungan yung mga nasa Transition Council ngayon. No? Pero as to whether or not Congress will do it, nasa wisdom na po yan at desisyon ng ating Kongreso. Ang payo po
You will
ni
not
Presidente ay kinakailangan makipag-ugnayan dun sa mga mambabatas. No? I specifically know that he singled out the senators from Mindanao na dapat kausapin ng mga taga Bangsamoro, no? And syempre, yung mga congressmen na from the area at mga Muslim should spearhead also the initiative in the lower house.
Okay, so he's just leaving it to the legislators, but he will support any measure
Yes,
that will
of
extend
course.
the BTA. Yes.
Full support
Okay.
po, pero it's all up to Congress.
Sir, kay Justice Leonen, no? Kaninong project to, yung impeachment niya?
Ay, hindi ko po alam kung kaninong project yan. No? Sa House po yan.
Okay.
No?
Yes, of course it's the House, no? But does it have the imprimatur of the president?
Absolutely not.
Like in the case of, can you elaborate?
Absolutely not. None.
Because?
None. Wala pong kinalaman dyan. No? We don't even know who the proponents are.
Okay, sir, one quick question. You mentioned a case build-up against the Los Baños mayor. By whom and how do you know this?
The police are investigating. Normally, the results of investigation should be used in a case build-up and charge individuals in court kasi yun yung katungkulan at obligasyon ng Estado pag merong napatay.
All right, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joseph. Yusek Roque,
you,
please.
Yes, a question from Dano Tingkungko of GMA7. Comment daw po sa panawagan ng Senior Citizens Party List na i-consider yung mental and emotional health of seniors and dapat i-consider din daw po to free seniors 70 below from isolation in MGCQ areas.
Well, again, that would be the discretion of the LGUs. No? Hayaan po nating mag-desisyon ng mga LGU kasi ang IATF na pa po naggawa na ng guidelines and the LGUs were empowered to implement them. May mga LGUs na nagdedeklara na one day of the week pwedeng lumabas sa mga seniors. No? So, yung ganyang po mga practices ang pwedeng i-adapt ng mga iba't ibang mga LGUs.
Question from Angel Ronquillo ng DZXLRMN. Willing daw po si Vice President Leni Robredo na maging guinea pig pagdating sa bakuna kontra COVID-19.
Again, nauna na po si Presidente magsabi na willing siya. Let's hope she can be a guinea pig.
Nagaring ka, sir.
Sino naman yung
From,
nagtatawa dyan, ha? Bakit kayo nagtatawa dyan, ha? Oh.
From Sam Medinilla po, nakarating na po kaya ang 2021 national budget sa Office of the President? If
Hindi pa po.
no,
Wala pa
Opo.
po.
Okay. Kasi ang second po niya, if no, nagbigay na po kaya ng commitment ang both houses of Congress kung kailan nila isasubmit ito kay President Duterte.
Realistically, they have to do it this week dahil pag-aaralan pa rin po ng presidente yan kung mayroong mga individual line vetoes na gagawin.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Yusek. Back to Pia Renada, please. Pia?
Sir?
Yes, go
Hello?
ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, first question. Sir, on the COVID-19 vaccine reservation payments, sir, if you recall in September, the president expressed unwillingness to give advance payments for Western COVID-19 vaccines, but eventually, diba, he relented. But sir, did this unwillingness lead to a delay in our reservation of vaccines?
Hindi naman po, no? Dahil wala pa naman talagang nakakakuha ng vaccine dahil yan po ay dependent not really on the payment of reservation but on the issuance of emergency use authorization by the FDAs worldwide.
But sir, di ba yung reservation fee, that's what is necessary to reserve a certain amount. And sir, I remember the president even saying that he doesn't even think it's allowed to give an advance payment in our procurement laws. But it turns out that he was wrong because eventually naman he gave the approval. So sir, I mean, how did this affect our timeline for reservation? Kasi if he knew ahead of time, at that time already, September, that pwede naman magbigay ng reservation fee, could we not have made reservations earlier and secured a supply earlier?
I don't think it would have affected the timeline because unang-una, as I said, ngayon lang po nagkakaroon ng emergency use authorization worldwide. As far as I know, there's only been 2 countries that have given EUAs, and that is China and the United Kingdom. So hindi po tayo nahuhuli. Pangalawa po, the advance payment po, I don't think will really affect when we will actually get it kasi lahat naman po tayo subject first to scientific scrutiny. So what determines kung kailan tayo magkakaroon is the scientific scrutiny. And number 3, hindi naman po tayo nag-insist na hindi po pwede ito under our procurement law. Unang-una, ingenious nga pong ginawa natin in inviting the private sector to go ahead and pay just in case the procurement law prohibits it. But eventually po, I was one of those that voiced the opinion na there is no bar kasi nga po, number 1, there is an exception under the 9184, RA 9184, that procurements pursuant to international agreements shall not be covered. And number 2, there is express authorization vested on the President under Bayanihan 1 and 2, no, to resort to extraordinary procurement in relation to COVID. So wala pong kinalaman yan.
Mm-hmm. So sir, who convinced the president finally na hindi naman siya against the law to issue a reservation fee?
Well, I
Was it
think ang nangyari was the president was first told about the private sector initiative. And when the president was told, he was appreciative and said, let's do everything that we can now to get the vaccines. No? Pero wala pong kinalaman yung kanyang insistence before on when we will actually get it. We will get it at the same time as everyone else because it is still based on science.
Sir, just last question will be a clarification. Sir, earlier you mentioned that I think this week there will be a vaccine to be given general approval. Are you talking about, sir, local approval of the FDA, yung EUA na po?
Not the Philippines. Some jurisdiction. Pero there will be one.
How about, sir, for the Philippines? Will there be any
Wala pa.
EUA issued
In
soon?
fact, I was trying to contact the pharmas on when they will file EUAs here in the Philippines. Wala namang makasagot. I called Pfizer, and the Pfizer response was, I will read it. Ang Pfizer response was, okay, and the response is that they cannot officially comment on items that are confidential in nature. Only when the headquarters gives their go signal can they comment. And then they suggested that we reach out to our embassies. No? So that was the official response of Pfizer because I was curious since they filed for emergency use authorization in England, and they have also said that they have filed also in India when they intend to file in the Philippines.
Kasi sir, yung Sinovac, they've just delivered the supply to Indonesia. And I remember you saying that Sinovac is one of the advanced vaccines already in the Philippine evaluation process. So sir, no news pa, sir, on Sinovac getting EUA?
Hindi pa nga po sila yesterday I also verified, hindi pa rin sila nagfa-file sa Philippines. And in the case of Indonesia, that is still subject to the regulatory approval, also pursuant to an EUA purchase. Okay?
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Yusek Roque, please.
Secretary, question from Rose Novenario of Hataw. Sa isang kilos protesta ay nanawagan ang Alliance of Health Workers sa mismong Department of Health na ibigay ang pantay-pantay ang COVID-19 Special Risk Allowance at Active Hazard Duty Pay under Bayanihan Law 2 sa lahat ng manggagawang pangkalusugan sa pampubliko at pribadong ospital, maging sa mga LGU at iba pang health facilities, dahil ang virus ay walang pinipiling dapuan. Lahat ng health workers sa loob ng ospital ay exposed at prone sa virus. Ano po ang reaksyon ng palasyo?
Hindi ko po alam bakit sila nananawagan. Talaga naman po ang batas, meron may provision sa saligang batas na equal protection, it should be applied to all, no? Similarly situated. So hindi na po kinakailangan magpanawagan. It will be applied to all, similarly situated.
Opo. Secretary, tanong ni Maricel Halili, although nasagot nyo na, baka lang po may dagdag kayo, may we have a palace statement about Vice President Robredo's fear on alleged normalization of impunity in the Philippines after string of killings. She said, mas natatakot ako sa immunity as a whole, na parang napaka-normal na lang na mabalitaan natin na may mayor na pinatay, may judge na pinatay, may abogadong pinatay, may media man na pinatay. Alam mo yon, bakit ganon?
Sa lahat po ng administrasyon, merong mga ganyang pinapatay. Ang issue, ginagampan ba ng Estado ang katungkulan na mag-imbestiga, maglitis, magparusa at bigyan ng remedyo sang-ayon sa lokal na batas?
Tanong po ni Vance Fernandez, ito na po yung last question, Secretary. From recent news that inflation rate ay tumaas po up to 3.3% from 1.3% in November. What does the government plan to do to deal with inflation, and what messages of reassurances from the government would you like to give sa business sector of the country?
Well, pasok pa naman po sa target natin na between 2 to 4% ang inflation rate na 3.3%. No? At ito nga po ay nakakalungkot, pero ito po ay resulta ng mga bagay-bagay na hindi natin makokontrol, gaya ng sunod-sunod na mga bagyo na nagsalanta ng ating mga pananim na dahilan kaya umingkris po ang presyo ng ating mga bilihin, lalo na sa pagkain at transportasyon. Pero huwag po kayong mag-alala, kung kinakailangan mag-angkat para pababain ang presyo ng pagkain, gagawin po natin yan. Pero syempre, binabalanse po yan dahil hindi naman po pwedeng masyadong mababa dahil kawawa naman ang ating mga magsasaka kung masyadong mababa ang presyo ng ating mga agrikulturang mga produkto.
Thank you, Secretary.
Okay for round 2 daw. Joseph Morong.
Yes, sir. Sir, okay, ganito. Yung sa matagal ng tanong natin, yung sa mga love is not, ano ba yun? Tourism. Sir, finally, can we outline talaga kung ano yung pwedeng mangyari para naman hindi na sila umaasa? So right now, ang gusto nilang mangyari is i-exempt sila from the tourist visa required kasi parang ang inaalaw natin is mga foreigners on tourists. Ang binaban natin is yung mga foreigners on tourists, hindi pa pwede yon. But is the government willing to provide an exemption to at least those who are engaged or have fiancé status, and also that includes, all kinds of couples?
Well, tapatan
You know what I mean?
po para walang umaasa. Hanggang ban pa po ang tourist visas, I don't think there can be a way for them to come in. Ang pag-asa na lang po natin, may bakuna na. Sa pag may bakuna na, baka po pwede na po tayong magbukas ng ating teritoryo muli sa mga turista. Antay na lang po tayo. Sandali na lang po yan dahil narito na po ang bakuna.
Your spouses are allowed, but these are just straight couples. May natatanggap lang ako na communicated that pag same-sex, hindi pwede, sir, no?
I would like to believe na basta meron silang marriage contract, they should be allowed in.
But our embassies daw, sir, say that we have no counterpart, parang law that acknowledges and recognizes same-sex. So parang hindi valid yung effect in the Philippines?
My professional view is you apply conflicts of law. If it is valid, the marriage was valid in a jurisdiction where it was solemnized, then it should be recognized as valid here. Kasi hindi naman dito ginawa yung kasal. Doon sa jurisdiction na allowed siya.
Alright, sir. Thank you for your time po.
May isa pa. See you, Sec. Roque, please.
Yes, Secretary, tanong ni pahabol ni Hana Sancho ng SMNI, nananawagan po ng tulong ang Catanduanes para mapaayos agad ang mga nasirang tahanan. Madalas po kasi mga relief ang natatanggap. Sana naman daw po ay hindi makalimutan yung ayuda para sa kanilang tahanan.
Ang alam ko po, yung pinadala po ng Malacanang, meron pong 18 million at ang bulk nito ay para pambili po ng yero at iba pang mga kinakailangan para maitayo muli po ang mga tahanan ng mga taga-Catanduanes. Huwag po kayo mag-alala. Malapit po nating kaibigan si Governor Joseph Cua at palagi po nating sinusuportahan ang mga hinihiling ng mga taga-Catanduanes at naibibigay naman po ng Malacanang.
Thank you, Secretary.
Okay, kung wala na po tayong tanong, well, gaya po ng aking sinabi, ang bakuna ay naririyan na, kaya sasalubungin natin ang Kapaskuhan na may bagong pag-asa at nagbibigay ng magandang pangitain ng langit. Mantakin niyo po, masasaksihan ng buong mundo sa Disyembre 21 ang tinatawag na Christmas Star na huling nakita may 800 taon na ang nakalipas. Jupiter and Saturn will align, creating what is referred to as the Christmas Star or the Star of Bethlehem. Payapang daigdig, Merry Christmas to one and all. Ito po ang inyong spokes sa ngalan po ng ating Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Maraming salamat, Panginoon, sa iyong Christmas gift na bakuna. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.